So you should all meet the lovely Brad of Good Games Canberra, one of our amazing sponsors.
Hey everybody!
Put him on the spot, started recording on the spot, and his lovely wife Emma in the background. Hi! I just want to get you on film to say thank you, Brad, for all the
I'll put it on you.
all the legendary support you've had.
The new video bomb.
I just had to get you involved for 1 second.
Hi.
Hello.
Man, Jose's headed
Man,
right
come
there.
on, man. Come on, man. We got this. Thanks for sponsoring.
No worries.
It's legendary stuff.
I'm on TV. Not really.
Have you got any messages for the 3 viewers?
Well, you know, if you've got
Have you got more on your podcast?
I think we're in the 10s on the podcast.
Okay.
So people that are watching this should also check out my podcast, and
Which
we'll
is
do some
called?
cross promotion. It's called Let the Dice Flow.
I've listened to episode 7
All the way up to episode 7 or just episode 7?
and the bonus side.
Sweet. So
Are you
you're up to
sending the
date.
$10 that can be in episode 7?
No, we've already done episode 7. So in episode 9 we'll mention your
Talking
vlog,
about being in episode
and then we'll get some cross
It'll
promotion.
go public in about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, so that's well after episode 9 comes out, but that's fine.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
And then we can get more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cross marketing.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful.
Cool.
That was amazing. What happened? Those two were versing on a finals table. Well, they weren't, because Ben couldn't win. He could only come second, but Lloyd could come first. Yeah. And Ben, if he beat,
Alright.
stopped Lloyd from coming first, but didn't actually win.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. And so Ben beat Lloyd just to stop him winning. And it was like, we don't fight. I just didn't talk to him for a week. I was like, oh. But on the table,
Hang on. James, who am I?
What was that about?
Leaper. It was from the
I fucking love that
It
kid.
was Potsy.
twirling their mustache.
Potsy has like the little doing because he does it all the time. And Leaper's like, what are you doing? He's like, you curl it up and away. And so it just became.
Potsy is the CD mustache mower as well.
Oh, Papa Potsy is amazing.
So I got a message from Potsy on Friday night saying, hey guys, so do us a favour, we're trying to get a photo of each of the captains without their shirts on. If you could just send us a couple of naked photos, you know, that'd be great. Great work. And I'm like, nice try, Mr. Psychological fucking
He's like,
mastermind.
practice to Rob the easy way. Hey Rob. He's like, I'm the master. ACC needs a medical check. Yeah, he's
Kind of damned.
sounds super gay.
I'm so tired.
So I'm here with the semi-victorious ACT team casting couch episode for a Doge's breakfast. Thank you very much for tuning in. From left to the right, we have Jake Mengel, Callum Chibi Lamb, Taylor Dean, Aaron Harwood, and Judge Beard, Rob Shepherd. First question for you guys. Well, first things first. Congratulations. I think you guys got an excellent result. All things considered, I had people sending me messages saying no horse, no hope, and you guys absolutely shut them down. So I think that second place is a fantastic result, given everything, especially the size of our meta.
James, the way to say it is, you think that beating every other team is a good result.
Yes,
Placement isn't important.
that last round was not kind to us in the selection matchup. But anyway, I'd like you just to answer. Just to start off, we'll introduce you. So from left to right. What's your name? What faction did you take? And very briefly, what was your favourite moment of the weekend? Doesn't have to be War Machine related. So, Jake.
I'm Jake Mengel.
Mengel.
Yeah, I know. You're only 27 years too late to that joke, but
Your parents made that joke initially, right? Yeah, that's right.
I was playing.
That's how it all began.
So, what faction
I
did
was
you
playing
take?
Convergence. I was taking the current list and the Axis Tier 3.
The infamous Axis Tier 3 list. Favourite moment?
Favourite moment of the weekend has to be that second game against Potsy. It was down to the wire. There was so many stupid dice on both sides, and it was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
So props to him. That was a good game.
So I'm Callum Chibi Lamb.
Better known as Seth Rogen.
That's the one. Thanks, Hollis. I played Circle, one of only 2 players playing Circle, weirdly enough. I think my favourite moment from the weekend was probably watching Potsy make out with the back of Jeff's head. That was probably the most amazing thing I saw. It was amazing.
I saw an amazing photo of you.
That was definitely one of my finer moments, actually, of the weekend. But it was good.
Hi, I'm Taylor, and I played Trolls, Imadrak and P. Gristle. I have two equally, I think, favourite moments. I'll just go with the one though. Watching E-Butcher get into Sorsha, feeding, having 3 times to roll a 10 to kill her in one hit and flopping them all, and Sorsha turning around, feeding and knocking his head off.
Who was that?
It was Ev failing against Chris Davies, sorry Ev.
Kador.com. What was the other moment?
I just had it in my head and I've totally forgotten.
So you have one. Yeah, one.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It was actually funny and probably not PG, so I should...
No, say it.
I know, I'm just trying to think, because I was thinking about it like this is going to top the kissing Jeff's head. But...
Come back to it.
Yeah, come back to it, I've totally forgotten. You probably can.
I'm Aaron Harwood. I played Legion for the weekend, and my favourite moment of the whole weekend was pooing in Frawley's toilet. But also, I had a really cute repulse chain that won me a game as well. That was close runner-up.
I'm Rob Cantrell. I played Crix, playing the Denegra 2 theme force with all the Cephalics, and a Scar double Wraith Engine list. Probably 2 favourite moments. One out of game was when someone from WA came up to me and they told me that they were confused and scared by the Scar list. They was doing their head in trying to figure it out, and that was a wonderful compliment.
That was a thing I got a lot over the weekend. ACT's lists were the strongest and scariest and asked the most questions.
Because you can hear a lot like, that list is scary. But when someone says, I have no idea what that list does, that's when you've hit something.
Nice.
That list is terrifying.
The other favourite moment of the weekend was game against WA. I was dropping Scar against Mordecai. I look at the board and I think there's a safe way I could play this. And then out loud I say, let's do something really cool. And I'm halfway through doing something really cool when Aaron walks up and says, no pressure, but you're probably the decider. So that was good.
That was against WA in round 3?
Yes.
Nice.
I might add, one of Rob's other favourite moments of the weekend was having his card be on the table for the matchup and Frawley saying, you can have someone and you can have Tracy. And Rob's like, okay, I'll have Trolls.
That's awesome.
It was the other way around, but
Yeah.
I was up.
Typical Jay.
No, I have to have my favourite moment. Oh, sorry, keep going.
That's what Ted's talking about. This was an amazing matchup process where Tracy was up, and we put forward Jake and myself. And without hesitation, Frawley picked for me to play against Tracy.
Why did he give Tracy
You should probably ask Elman that.
Apparently, before the game, they told Tracy what he needed to do against Rob, and obviously Tracy needs to actually play the game before.
Tracy
That's
said
tough.
100%
It's a
solid increase.
That is a horrid matchup.
That's not true. I spoke to people about it actually. Tracy had basically said he was winning 90% of his games against Crix.
It weren't Denegra.
Which is to say, he was winning all of his games against Crix, except those against Denegra. And so, anyway, but that was okay. And I got to play against Tracy. I've never played against him before. It was really great.
He's a legend. I'm glad you got to play.
I
We'll
get
get to that in one second.
James.
My favourite moment, my name's Horse, I wasn't there. I was at a raging 90th and a wedding. My favourite moment of the weekend was Jeff Galea basically giving us something better than first place. I might be paraphrasing, but look, he said to the ACT team after they came in third, we came in second. Look, you guys, 2 years ago, I told you you're the worst meta. Now that is 100% incorrect. Even without Horse, you guys are fucking awesome. That was victory for me. That was awesome.
Approximate paraphrase, but yes.
Approximate paraphrase. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions for you guys. Some are.
Just before we go on, I will say Rob smashed it in the list selection
Yeah, he
process.
did.
Yeah, hands down.
It was amazing to have Rob up front picking the matches, and as he said, he threw one person under the bus the whole time.
He didn't.
I
He almost-
considered doing it. And
Well,
didn't do it.
yeah, and that was it.
Really?
And
For
that's
someone
fine.
functioning on a very small amount of sleep, being the only person to go 6-0,
I was pretty fucked up.
I think Rob had a pretty sensational weekend.
Yeah.
And playing in 2 City of Origins prior definitely helped as well. So leading on for that, I've got a couple of questions. This one is directly related. We did a fair bit of matchup process work, and a lot of it was basically, are you red, orange, or green, as in avoid, average, or good
Not
matchup.
Mario Boy.
So, Koki of Queensland fame asked who got their matchups wrong. So, if you got one that you thought was green and it was actually red, orange.
I got one I thought might be able to play. I played against Brayo and got the raping of a lifetime against D. Haley. Pretty bad. Yeah.
I went into it saying, P-Boulder, I'm good against minions, mercenaries, because their colossals do AoE, will be sweet, and I'll be good against Lilith. Leaper handed me...
But Leaper's a weapon.
Yeah.
E-Lilith versus P-Boulder. Generally, a good list.
Is the best Lilith list I've ever seen as well.
It was a good matchup on paper for Chibi. Strider's changed it a little bit, but Leaper's a weapon.
I mean, it was one of the best games. Leaper is a legend.
I am stoked to have him on Rob and I's WTC team. Let me say that.
Also,
anyone else?
Just relating to Koki, enjoy the corn. That's all.
Thanks for that.
Sure.
We needed that again. I think my real
Jakey,
change
yeah,
that I
you've probably got something interesting here, because that Access tier list was a wrench in the works.
That Access list, and I know a lot of people heard me say it over the weekend, but it was very mentally exhausting to play, and I don't know what it was like being on the other side of the table, but it was always good looking at the other two people's lists and saying, okay, well, worst comes to worst, I can just throw this on the table and try and grind out a scenario win. So
To be honest, I came over to a lot of your Access games where you have so you're sitting in the zone with Access, there's about 40 infantry models on their side of the table, outside of the zone, and their army's like, how do I get at that?
Yeah.
it was very, very good. It was an interesting list.
In answer to being on the other side of the coin, I played that list the week before we left with Emadrak, who is a good matchup, and I eventually won, and that list is fucked.
I was reading someone's report today. They said at the end of the day, they counted they'd killed 96 models, and there were still 20 models on the table at the end of the game.
Was that Potsy?
Potsy, yeah. I think it was Potsy, yeah.
It was either Potsy or both of those games were just such slogs, and they killed so many of my guys.
Speaking of which, in true giant slaying type, Jake took down Potsy and Azza.
That's massive.
Pretty
massive.
I played against that list 2 weeks prior to going, and it was sort of like building a sandcastle as like the ocean's coming in and just knocking it over, because you're like, yeah, I killed 20 models, this is great. They all come back. You build it up, then knock it down.
You're building a sandcastle to fight the ocean.
Yeah.
That's actually not that's one of your not shit analogies.
In terms of matchup changes, the only one I could really think of was I thought I was a little bit stronger against E. Haley, but it is extremely. It's a lot more focused on the positioning of Luke Hunt, more than I gave it credit. So I think I'd drop that to more of a red to orange. So it's very coin flippy.
Sweet. All right, let's chug through a few more of these questions. We've got one from Russell Harmon, trombone. This is probably for Chibi, and sorry to rub salt in the wounds. Could you explain the finer arts of forgetting to feed? I can help you out with this one if you need.
I
It's Rust
can.
Tech, isn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was considering taking a faction to a tournament I'd never played, and then I was like, no, you know what? I should just be half an hour late to whenever someone picks me up for a road trip. That'd also be good.
No,
And then
that's
I thought,
Dale.
That's Dale.
Well, no, Russ does it as well. Also, I thought beers at 8 o'clock in the morning, sick idea before a tournament. And then I was like, no, I better channel the horse. I better be the circle and forget to feed in the final.
Sensational. For those who don't know, Chibi forgot to feed in the final, which probably, honestly, at the end of the day, probably a little bit inconsequential, maybe.
I don't think I would have won anyway on a non-killbox scenario versus Gatsby. He had a very good list, and Nipples is a great player as well. I don't
he's
think
not.
I would have won.
Sorry.
But yeah, it cost me the game then, but I may have just dragged it out.
Deno had a shiver down his spine just there when you see Nipples is a great player.
Yeah, what the dude? Can you get off the show, man?
He's clearly the best Creeks player in Queensland.
Simon is a good Creeks player.
He had a great first game.
I'm gonna have to edit this. I'm gonna have to edit this out. From Ed Sykes, from everyone. Ed is a new Kador player we've had who's just been playing over 5 months. He asks, do you have any advice for new players wanting to get into the competitive team scene? Just any short
Play.
So many games.
play Steamroller, I think is a.
Two things. One of them is attend tournaments. That's how you start winning tournaments. The other thing is, and you're already doing this, Ed, after every game, ask yourself what you could have done better.
Yeah.
Take that away.
You are the prime example of that, Ed.
I think another thing you have to do is get your ass handed to you a lot.
Yeah.
And like Ed came into our store, and our store is very strong. Like we've got horse, and
Rob.
Well, and you guys,
Exactly.
who are the
he came
second,
in,
if not best team in Australia.
He didn't bat an eyelid. He just asked for games, and he got beaten and just kept asking
He's
questions.
winning a lot
One-
of games.
one of the-
He's doing bloody well,
leaps
man.
and bounds.
One of the good things Ed does, and this was highlighted in my last game with him, was first thing he said, absolute first thing, was nothing to do with dice, nothing. He said, do you think my positioning was okay? And he's already just thinking about the right
Yeah,
things.
asking questions
Good stuff.
is the way to go.
It's not for everyone. You're going to get your butt handed to you if you want to get good. Okay, from Matt Graham as well, who's just inside playing at the moment. How did you find... This combines with another question. I'll combine the two of them. So Matt Graham and Robin Edwards. How did you find the team list building process for putting 5 lists together? And what do you think were the best factions and lists for the event?
There are a few
I think
linchpins.
I'll just throw one out there to start. That Axis list was money.
Yeah.
That
I think
E-Denny
that
list was money.
The way I've been thinking
Those
about
tier
it
forces. Woo.
is it is different in that the matchup, the selection process changes things a lot, and you start thinking about having tools that you would never think about, or not think about as much in a regular steamroller game, and having lists that bully your opponent's selection. And by that I mean there are occasions where I could dead set pick who would play who, because Queensland would put down Potsy, and I'd put forward myself playing Crix and any other list, and I knew Potsy would play that other list. I knew he would just not take the Crix matchup. And the more lists you've got that can do that bullying makes it a lot more comfortable, able to manipulate the matchup.
And I think we had 3.
We had 3.
Lilith,
we had Lilith,
Axis and E-Denny.
and double waters from Trolls as
So
well.
you're saying that not an overwhelming amount, but an amount of really skewy, tiery, sort of question-asking lists were
it's
were
less
instrumental?
more questions.
It's not skew. Okay, I mean the Axis list is skewy.
My list was skewed.
But it's more looking at the matchups because it's two lists, and yeah, forcing. I guess it's asking a question. I've just been thinking about it in terms of I've been using the phrase bullying the selection process. Skew is a little different, and skew is a term that you use to describe 2 lists on 2 lists in a regular steam.
Double down.
Flipping double downs, yeah. That's it. Frawley's double downs list is a good example of a
list.
of
It's just a good list.
a bully.
I just remembered the other best moment from the weekend. My matchup against Drew afterwards when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
And Rob asked Frawley, why did you drop Drew against Aaron's Lilith list? And then he said, well, I talked to Drew, and Drew said he thought it was a 50-50 matchup. To which my response was, what? Turn 1, I take 50% of your army off the table, then turn 2, I take the other 50%.
That's
That's
awesome.
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Well done.
Basically, to reiterate what Rob said, I think our lists probably asked the most questions, but there were so many lists there that had so many answers. It was interesting just looking at all of them.
It was
Az's E-Madrak list was sick. His single win infantry
yeah,
run
he's
with
looking at
Suns
that
and stuff was
for the
really good.
WTC.
Yeah.
What was interesting, I noticed, was basically flicking through people's lists and looking at those who have basically just put 2 lists together as though they're going to a steamroller, and then teams who had put together a list of 5. And I think that you guys were a notable team.
Every other Convergence player but Jake was in that position. They put the mother-father combination forward. It wasn't hard to play around.
All right. Final question that I'm going to ask from Andrew Hayden. This is for Jake to start off with. What was your original game plan versus Potsy, and then how did that change going into your second game with him?
First,
Because first game it was Axis versus Xerxes. Second it was Axis versus E Hexerus.
that's actually going back to the question of how I thought matchups changed. I thought originally that my Axis list had a better game than it did against the Xerxes list. It was a slog. I took a photo at the end of the game. It was like a minute left on my clock and 2 minutes left on his. And I couldn't deal with the amount of AoEs he put down with fire. I just couldn't deal with it. I had a lot of recursion, he killed a lot of guys, but in the end he ended up winning on the attrition. Going back into it, I didn't think that he would drop that list again. I thought that he would expect me to drop it, can't. And so I threw it down and we just went, well, it was also a big thing of the scenario because I looked at the scenario, Rob called me over and said...
Into the breach was the scenario.
Into the breach, he called me over and said, how do you think you look at this scenario? I looked at it and just went, I think I can get into the zone and jam it the fuck out. And I didn't think I could do that with Lee Kant. Tried to force that, and which is almost what happened. He killed so much stuff. He killed 2 units completely and 2 foundries turn 1, and it was at that point I crapped myself, thinking, oh god, I've made a terrible, terrible mistake. And I was able to get a couple of things go my way, a couple of lucky dice rolls, push him out. I went for the assassination, was out by a bee's dick. He went for the assassination, left me on 4 health, and then I was able to just kill him. So the thing that changed was the scenario was different, and I had a little bit more experience by that point of playing that bloody tier list in the scenario. So.
Legend. Also, I think that's it, guys. Thank you. I think you've done a fantastic job. You really did us proud. Any final words of wisdom for anyone? Or just like ATC next year, would 10 out of 10 again?
Staying awake for 24 hours straight, man, really sucks.
He says that and still went 6-0. Just saying.
I
And my thing would be to say is that despite all the all the banter back and forth between states and things, all credit to Queensland because they did in the end beat us. We're not doing this whole we're the real winners because we beat everyone. We weren't. Queensland won the final. They won the event and they played really well to do so.
Watching them rally and
was unreal. Watching them beat New South Wales 4-1. Fucking Hail Mary. 5-0, sorry, but they needed 4-1 to get to the final.
That was a thing.
It was unreal.
When they were 0-2, I wrote them off.
Yeah, they lost their first 2 rounds hard. It was
that 5-0 against New South Wales was a thing of beauty.
yeah, that was amazing.
Well done, Queensland.
Well done, boys.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I think what was really interesting was you could actually look at the different metas and see how they all ran, and it was really interesting when we were sort of making lists majorly with our sort of meta in mind, but then you saw other metas doing completely different stuff, and I thought it was really, really interesting. Like WA's lists and stuff.
Like WA just rocking up pretending they're going to win it, and then you know, not even in the top half. I was actually looking at the podium, and I couldn't find Western Australia on it.
Yeah, it was odd.
Considering they were going in as favourites, Leaper, you got some work to do, mate.
Yeah, next year, let's get Tassie and NT involved.
I think New Zealand might actually be a chance.
That would be awesome, actually.
That'd be cool.
I would like to see this build up as one of the premier events, and this year sounded
We
sensational.
might get the Frawley trio. Bogan, Frawley, and Frawley from New Zealand again.
It's
It'd be awesome.
Kiwi Frawley.
Yeah, Kiwi Frawley.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. You've done a fantastic job.
No worries.
ACT out!
Nobody could see you do gang signs, man.
You can videograph my guns.
So what happened then, Chibi?
Okay. So, a mate of mine was telling me about one of his mates
If you're watching now, turn off.
who had an experience. So he was with a lady friend, and they were doing intercourse in
Doing an intercourse.
They were doing the intercourse.
They were achieving one
the
intercourse.
intercourse in the back passage.
He was going down the Hershey Highway
He was.
all the way to Browntown.
He was scoring in the dugout, and he felt something strange on his member. So he pulled out, everything was normal. He then proceeded to roll back his foreskin and found a single piece of corn in his foreskin.
I let you want a dry Rex. That's so bad.
And that is the corn story.